Hey traders, Ivan Delgado here, MyTest commentator at Global Prime Forex. I think that there's a fair share of lessons that we can learn from the Bitcoin US dollar Tether chart action that we saw emanating out of Sunday. Remember that we had a epic long liquidation event. Just to put things into perspective, notice this chart. This is a great chart that is put together by bitbt.com, and you will understand the magnitude of this movement, and the total liquidation was just incredible. So essentially what we're seeing here is that market broadly speaking got liquidated by about 9 billion. That is an exorbitantly high number. It is actually 3x as much as what we saw back in late February, which is the largest liquidation episode up until last Sunday. And one of the things that should really become blatantly obvious by this analysis that I'm performing here is the following. There was so much greed, there was so much euphoria about or around the Coinbase direct listing that that has actually been very well reflected through the amount of people that were over leveraged and eventually got wrecked. And just to really make this point super clear, notice that back in February, when we had about $3 billion liquidated out of the crypto market, the Bitcoin chart from the very top right here down to this initial interim bottom, this actually signified the first low out of the second low, even though here notice that the liquidations were minimal. This represented about a 15 to 20% price retracement, which was more or less the one that we had right here, a 15 to 20%, yet the liquidation levels that we reached were making a mockery out of these liquidations. And so essentially this translates in a market that around the Coinbase direct listing had built up a lot of euphoria, a lot of greed. A lot of people were just thinking that this thing would just keep going straight up on a straight line, and that obviously was not the case. And this has been a massive awakening moment for all those almost 1 million traders in the crypto space got what is typically known as the word, or the terminology that we apply is wreck. Okay, that's the jargon that we use in the crypto market to essentially define the people that got a margin call and effectively got taken out of their positions for a zero sum in their account. So going back to the chart, what can we learn out of this epic movement that we saw in Bitcoin back on Sunday? Well, essentially there is, and the main lesson here that it's going to be the takeaway is price action is always the ultimate teller, is always the true bellwether of how healthy a market happens to be and how much support it is receiving from buyers. In this case, we want to analyze what are the markets out of this massacre of levered longs that are still performing relatively well through V-type shape reversals, because by identifying the very rare markets, the very few markets that have put on a V-shape reversal, that will definitely translate in the ones that are receiving the most support from a legion, from an army of buyers. Okay, now first of all, I want you to look at the common pattern that has been present ever since the Bitcoin liquidation, and that is as follows. We had the initial event right here. This is the supply imbalance that eventually leads to the liquidation of all these longs that were overexposed, and ever since we've seen a bit of a pullback, but nowhere close to actually retake this circle that is the origin of that supply. This is a pattern that recurs in almost every single market. As I said, ADA, Cardano, Ion, Algo US dollar, Anchor, Ardor, ARPA, Atom, and I could go on and on and on and on. However, and here's the crux of the matter, I have selected for you a number of markets that are reflecting, that are actually displaying a different pattern. And this is one of the most telling signs that these are markets that, as part of an ongoing alt season, that's the one that we are going through right now, should be doing relatively better compared to the rest of the market. And the reason being is because in such a important event, the price action, the chart has spoken, and traders have effectively showed their hands, you know, and that is a very, very important takeaway that we should not be in any way, shape, or form ruling out if you really want to build a robust portfolio in this alt season. So let's go through the charts that have been performing the best. Now, number one, Dogecoin. Dogecoin did see the liquidation, and ever since we have now taken back that origin of supply, and we are trading well above that liquidation event. What to say about STX? The same thing. STX has recovered back above the elongated candle that represented the liquidation event in Bitcoin. Same can be said in MKR marker. Notice that we had the market selling off right here, and for the previous candle we've already starting to see the signs that this market is now treating this previous sell-off as new support. BNB, a market that continues to fascinate me, is one that is just the gift that keeps on giving. We had a very well defined V-type shape reversal, and that obviously is telling us that this market is absolutely full of committed buyers, and if that weren't the case, obviously wouldn't be printing this type of chart pattern that is so powerful, especially when we go through such an event, and this becomes a very seldom event that very few charts are printing. That really tells us that this market has some very special features going on in terms of the the number of buyers willing to buy, as opposed to the sellers getting rid of the tokens. Luna, the same thing, even though Luna now appears to now be putting on a renewed retracement, we did have that V-shaped type of reaction, even though in this case, notice that we are retesting this previous support, even though to me it really portrays a very healthy market, the type of reaction that we've seen. It again, it tells us that the buyers are there, willing to beat up this market whenever an opportunity presents itself. Quantum against the US dollar, even healthier than the Luna in this latest action. We have recovered above that supply candle, and now we're looking, and we've traded already for 2 candles in a row what used to be support, what used to be this resistance as support. Sol, this has been to me honestly the most compelling story. Even during the liquidation candle in Bitcoin around this time on Sunday, that 12-hour window in Sol did not print a bearish candle. That is just massive and tells us a big story about Sol as a market that is relentlessly beat and should continue to do really, really well in this alt season. I would be expecting this line of previous resistance now to be support in what has been not even a V shape but a V type shape plus 2x. Really, it's just been fascinating to see this Sol market. Now FTT, that's the token as part of the FTX exchange, so let's just say that this is somehow a replica of what Binance has done through the BNB, but in the FTX exchange. We've seen again another VX reaction. Same can be said on Link, and Link is giving us a bit of deeper pullback as I am speaking, the same as in, I think it was Luna. Yes, so Link and Luna here giving us a relatively equal or relatively similar price action. And the last two would be VET and Yearn Finance. Yearn Finance, Link, and Luna again gave us the V shape, but now they are retracing back, even though again this has been very reassuring. These V shapes have become a very reassuring sign to be supporting this market relatively with a relatively stronger conviction as opposed to the rest in this very strong alt season that we're going through now in the crypto space. Okay, so I hope that this video has been of help, has been of assistance. Let me know in the comments below if you have found value out of it. Remember to smash the like button, and by the way, you will keep getting frequent videos that are at the very core should be very educational in nature and should go a long way in providing you more golden nuggets for you to grow in your understanding of various markets. Either it is the traditional type of markets or also the crypto space. That's an area where I'm also very dedicated on. All right, cheers.